Hey you guys, what's going on? Mr. Rating1235 back here yet again for another album review. Blur, The Magic Whip. Forgive the lower quality of this video. I'm not going to be sticking the cover of the album in the corner or anything. My computer is pretty fucked up for editing, honestly, so I'm just going to throw up the raw file. If I fuck up, there's not going to be any cuts. I'm just going to bounce right over it. But yeah, The Magic Whip. This is a very interesting album from Blur. Very interesting album. It's a lot different than I was expecting. For an album from Blur, it's a lot different. You know, I kind of put out track reviews for the first 3 tracks that they released. Lonesome Street, Go Out, and There Are Too Many of Us. I was kind of comparing a whole lot of the songs to like past Blur work and past Blur albums. And, honestly, that's about the extent I can give. The rest of the deep cuts on this album are just something totally new, in my opinion. Yeah, the album opens up on Lonesome Street. One of the most accessible, jangly guitars, fun as fuck lyrics. You know, it's just a great, fun fucking song. Simple to the core. You know, it's just exciting as hell, fun. It's a great song. And then we go into New World Towers, which honestly I feel like could fit on Everyday Robots. It's just a slow piano ballad. I feel like this song is a whole lot about like just looking at the city of Hong Kong. He's writing about like the neon lights and planes flying overhead. Just really beautiful lyrics. But yeah, if Graham's guitar wasn't in there, I don't know why like this song couldn't fit on Everyday Robots. I feel like, honestly, a whole lot of the feelings that Damon was feeling on Everyday Robots kind of floated into this thing. Just a little bit. But not a bad song. Don't get me wrong, I actually really like this song. It's surprisingly memorable. But yeah, I'm not really used to having a Blur album come up with this less of a punch so early. You know, like, you listen to, like, every other Blur album, and there's a certain kind of, like, punch to them. They're typically, you know, they're upbeat, they're weird, they're fun, and this album is just not as much. So whatever. And then the third track on the album, Go Out, know it, love it. It's grown on me more and more since I heard it 2 months ago or so. Really love this track. One of the most upbeat songs on the album too, still really good song. And then we have the song Ice Cream Man, which you know, they performed this entire album on the Beats by Dre channel a little while ago. They played the entire album live, and I feel like a whole lot of the songs on this album sound better live than they do on the the studio version. I feel like Ice Cream Man is like one of the biggest examples of that. Ice Cream Man went from being one of my most exciting moments of the album to a moment that just didn't turn out the same on the album. Like, I still really love this song, but the studio version is kind of missing the emotion that the live recording had. It's just my personal opinion, but I still really like this song. I really like the acoustic guitar that follows it in the background. I just think it needed that extra little oomph to make it the standout track that it was when it was performed live. That's just my opinion. Then the next song, Thought I Was a Spaceman, another really down-tuned song. But this song makes you feel like you're floating through space, man. The atmosphere of this track is just amazing. Holy shit. It makes me feel like I'm like in a planetarium, and I'm just looking at the fucking, you know, like all the stars up on the ceiling, and it's moving slowly, and it's just, oh my god, the feeling that you get listening to Thought I Was a Spaceman is just awesome. It's one of the longest tracks on the album too. It's like 6 minutes long. And I really love near the end of the track when the drums come in and it gets a little bit more upbeat. Thought I Was a Spaceman. Really beautiful song, man. It's wild. I think this song kind of has that emotion that Ice Cream Man was missing. Yeah. So yeah, thought it was a Spaceman. A highlight for me personally. And then the song I Broadcast pops up, which is kind of like the dirty track on this album. It's kind of like the song 2, or the We've Got a File on You, or the Bank Holiday of this album. And I feel like Blur should have. I feel like Blur should have concentrated more on songs like this for this album, honestly. Because it's upbeat, it's fast, it's fun, it's fucking awesome, it's rocking, it's just so Blur, you know? And the rest of this thing is just so different Blur. The majority is different Blur. Not a bad thing, once again, just wasn't expecting a Blur album to be so mellow. That's all. But yeah, I Broadcast, another one of my favorites on the album. Really fucking love it. And then we have the song My Terracotta Heart, which, once again, really beautiful lyrics on this thing. Really great melodies going on in this thing, too. I feel like the choruses on this album really stick out. Even though the songs may be a little bit more down-tuned, I feel like the melodies on this album are really fucking, like... I don't know how the hell Damon does that, but he makes everything that he does sound so memorable. But yeah, My Terracotta Heart, and once again, a really beautiful song. Really love the instrumentation of that track, too. And then There Are Too Many of Us, which we've talked about before. Love the Pizzicato Strings, still one of my favorite songs on the album. I really love Graham's guitar solo near the end of the track, and kind of the different type of melody going on in it. I think it's awesome. But then, one of my absolute biggest fucking highlights of this album, Ghost Ship, pop up. And, oh my god, dude, I love the melody of this album. It's absolutely one of my favorite tracks on this entire fucking album. There's a little part in there where, like, the chords go, in Hong Kong. There's, like, a little bit of, a melody change right there with, like, 2 chords. And it reminds me so much of, like, Steely Dan or some shit, almost. Really good song. Ghost Ship, definitely one of the biggest standout tracks on this album. I love Ghost Ship, holy shit. And then Pong Yang comes up. Yeah, this one's a little bit more slower, but once again, like I said about My Terracotta Heart, just beautiful melodies. The chorus on this song sends fucking chills up my spine. It's fucking beautiful. It's a slowed down track, again, but it's beautiful. And there's this really cool, like, memorable dum 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 on the guitar coming from Graham that just gets plowed into your head, how kind of weird it sounds. But it works. It works for the song. And then we have the song Ong Ong, which everybody has loved since it first popped up. It's the easy sing-along track. It's like fucking like 3 or 4 chords, and that's it. It's just a simple, fun, I wanna be with you, and it just works. Ong Ong is great. Just a lot of fun. I still think that the live version is better than the studio version, because the la 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 la, it sounded a whole lot more fun in the live version than it does on here. Just my opinion once again though. And then a really hazy and reverb track ends this album out on Mirror Ball. Just really fucking reverb heavy. It sounds like a Blur, but it's a really good song to end the album on. No complaints about it. So if we're talking like straight up like songs, the album's wonderful. I mean, like, the melodies on these tracks are just beautiful. Damon's like lyrics have gotten better and better, like, every single album he releases. I mean, like, he had some amazing lyrics on Everyday Robots, and I feel like this album is almost on the same level as that, if not even better. Damon as a lyricist he just keeps on growing, you know? And this album is a great example of that. The number one problem I have with this album, though, is the flow. The cohesion of this album is not that good. You listen to any other Blur album, and there's a certain flow to it, you know? There's a certain thing that carries you from track to track, and on this album I feel like the flow is kind of missing. I don't know if it's because of the abundance of slower tracks on this album opposed to the more up-tempo songs. I don't know if the track listing just needed to be switched around or some shit, but it's really easy to get tuned out listening to this thing fully. I mean, like, the songs themselves are wonderful, but the flow of this album is really hard to get over. Another thing that also kind of disappoints me about this album is the lack of world music. Like, the album cover and where they recorded this thing gave me a feeling that Blur were going to incorporate a few more, like, Chinese instruments into this thing. I was hoping to have a few songs where, like, there was, like, a solo from, like that thing that he used on the track Hong Kong by Gorillaz. Like, I was expecting some Chinese instrumentation on this thing, and there's not really any of that. There's like lyrics about it, and that's it. I don't know if he reserves that stuff just to do with Gorillaz or what the hell, but I think that right there just separates Blur from Gorillaz, in Gorillaz being almost a better band. But yeah, kind of disappointed there was no Chinese instrumentation going on in this thing, because I think that would have made the album more interesting as well. Songs themselves, though, fucking wonderful. Fucking beautiful, beautiful songs. It's just the cohesion of this album is just missing something that other Blur albums had. So yeah, take that for what you will. But honestly, I love this album still. Song-wise, they're just great. It's like you have to listen to certain songs individually almost, though, to really enjoy the thing fully. I mean, that's just my opinion. And the flow might be perfect for y'all. I'm sure a whole lot of you guys love this thing from top to bottom. There's just some little things about it that I think could have been done better. Honestly, just little tiny things that I think should have been done better. Overall, though, I'm glad Blur are back, and if this is a return to something new, to a new start almost, then I'm highly open to it. So yeah, what did you guys think of this thing? What do you think about the flow and cohesion of this album? Because I feel like it's way different than other Blur albums, just in my opinion. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Mr. Bunny 12335, I'll see you guys later. Still love this thing, no matter what you think. It's awesome. Gonna be buying this shit as soon as it comes out. Mr. Bunny 12335, I'll see you guys later.